I'm going to go to law school. And my husband's like, are you sure? Like, our kids are now like in high school. And I'm like, I'm going to do it because I'm going to show my girls. I only have girls. I'm going to show my girls that, doesn't matter what you face in life, A, B, C happens, but you can do it. There's no excuse. And I went back to school. I say everyone, whether it's your 18-year-old that's going off to college or whether it's, your 95-year-old who has capacity, parent, grandparent, whatever. And, myself, I'm in my 40s and I have friends that are like, I'm too young. I don't want to lose control. And I'm like, well, what happens if you lose capacity?
Yeah, I'll take more risks on TikTok because people don't know, like a lot of people don't, there's so many people that don't know you, Then it like see how it works and then go back to Instagram. Instagram is a little bit more because like I feel like there's a much bigger audience that had already known me because like they kind of filtered through from Facebook and Instagram. But TikTok, you could do crazy stuff. 3, 2, 1, let's go.
I do estate planning, real estate, so I have a title company.
Okay. Oh, you do?
Yeah. And then that's about what I do. And then my partner does every type, civil litigation, family law. That's pretty much.
How did we find each other? Did I reach out to you?
Yeah,
Or did you reach out to me?
Your people reached out to me.
I wonder if it was me or it was my people.
I don't know.
It's so funny. Sometimes, it's funny because sometimes I like we schedule it. We get you on the calendar because I love to talk to other lawyers who are running their businesses and doing a great job. And so it's either someone will reach out, but sometimes a lot of people will reach out and they've seen videos and stuff. And so I'm always curious, but I never look back.
Okay. As to where it
started. I should know.
Right. Well, no. I don't know if you respond to everything on social media yourself. I guess not. I don't. And so some people, they'll respond and they don't know if it's me responding or her responding. And I'm like, yeah, that's like they'll be like, I'm your friend from high school. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that is.
And it's you or is it somebody?
Sometimes it may be her. It's like a very, whatever response. And then I come in and I'm like, oh, heart. Yes, I remember you.
All right, so just tell me just a little bit about your firm. What is your firm name, and tell us a little bit about your practice.
Okay, so my firm name is Feinstein and Mendez. My name is Martha Mendez, and my main area of practice is estate planning and probate.
And so, just for like the ordinary person watching, and like, what is estate planning and probate?
So estate planning is where it's you're planning for the end of your life. What are going to happen to your assets when you pass away. And also what's going to happen if you become incapacitated. I shouldn't say when, right? A lot of times I say when and people get a little offended. It's just we're living so long that I see it so much in people.
It's so scary that those things that they happen and you got to be honest with a client about it. And they, even if they get offended, it's like, listen, you really need to be aware of this, right? I mean, because anything can happen. And when someone's incapacitated, they can't pay their own bills. They can't do anything.
Exactly. Yesterday, unfortunately, I had a lady that came in and I had to tell the daughter, I'm sorry, I don't think she has capacity to sign the documents. And it happens so often. And that's why a lot of times I find myself saying when, and people do get offended, but I'm like, I see it's happening so much that it's usually an eventuality.
It's an eventuality that like, it's not if, oh man, that's so sad to think that it's not if you're going to become incapacitated, it's when. And you would think, and there's probably statistics about it, right? Like there got to be 85, 90% of the time you're going to become incapacitated. The question is when, whether it's 75 years old or 80 years old or 85, or it could be younger.
Right.
And how do your, like, what is like the best thing, I guess, you suggest, and we'll come back to it in a little bit, but what's the best thing you suggest for someone planning that, hey, what if I become incapacitated, I need something to protect me so someone can handle my affairs?
So generally, I would say the golden standard for me is a durable power of attorney. I think everybody should have it because we talk about incapacity in terms of an elderly person, right? It doesn't just have to be an elderly person. It could be somebody that's, something's happened temporarily or something tragic has happened to somebody and they're young, right? So people always ask, okay, what age? No, everybody should have a durable power of attorney from your 18-year-old to your 90-year-old. We should all have one. That's what's going to help our loved ones not to have to go to guardianship potentially.
Yeah. And so that's another thing that I guess people don't understand is the importance of the power of attorney is if someone becomes incapacitated and there's a power of attorney in place, a loved one can act on their behalf and they can pay bills, they can file lawsuits, they can protect the person's interest. If the person doesn't have a power of attorney, guardianship is the next thing. What is that?
Right. So guardianship is where you go to the court and you file a petition to determine capacity, right? And then 3 doctors get assigned. Those 3 doctors do an evaluation of the person, and then they determine whether or not you have capacity. If you don't have capacity, they can say it's limited capacity or, you have no capacity, right? It's just a very involved process, right? So if you have a durable power of attorney, you can avoid that. If you don't, we have to go through the process of determining capacity, and then the guardian has to apply to become a guardian. And so you can't be a felon. Now they're asking for credit checks. They want to make sure that the guardian is a good fit. But a lot of times people get very scared because they're like, I've had financial issues, and is that going to not allow me to be the guardian? And all of that can be eliminated, generally speaking, with that durable power of attorney.
Yeah, and from my understanding, there's a big cost difference too for people who, if they have a loved one that's incapacitated and they don't have the durable power of attorney. I mean, what are we talking about? Cost difference, and time difference.
I mean, time difference is huge. I mean, just to get a guardianship, let's say everything is smooth sailing, you're looking at 2 to 3 months. Cost is probably 3 times as much. And not only that, but then you have the court looking at everything you're spending, because you have to ask the court for permission. I mean, I recently had somebody that wanted to get one of those, standing recliners for their parent. And it was like $1,000, no big deal. But we had to go and ask the judge for permission to use that person's money to be able to get that recliner. My client, the guardian, was, what do you mean I have to ask for permission? And I'm like, yeah, you got to ask.
It makes it so difficult and so time consuming. You gotta, the client needs to reach out to you, the lawyer. They need to file a petition. They need to set it for hearing. You gotta wait weeks upon weeks. Right. Then you have to, get to the judge. And what's crazy is a lot of times like the hearing will get canceled, it'll get moved. And so there's this huge delay in the court system if they don't have a power of attorney.
Right. And a lot of times the clients get frustrated because they don't understand the process. They're just like, I just need the money. It's like, no, it doesn't really work like that. Or we're at, the mercy of the judge. Sometimes you submit that order and that order will sit in queue for a day, maybe a week or 2 weeks. And then you kind of have to hope that they'll sign that order. So it's not an ideal situation. So
with the guardianship, there's the petition, the setting the hearing, waiting for the judge, seeing if the judge is going to agree to or not. What happens if there's a durable power of attorney that the person who is incapacitated, they signed it and they appointed their loved one? What happens in that situation? So
then you don't have to do the guardianship, right? It's the durable power of attorney is a least restrictive means, right? So generally you don't have to do the guardianship. I've seen very few situations where somebody has a durable power of attorney and we still have to do a guardianship. And that's more when there's an issue amongst the agents, right? Where people are disagreeing about things and maybe they're not doing things in the best interest of the ward of the person. Yeah. And so, there you'll see it. But generally, if you have a valid durable power of attorney, and I love to say valid because I see it all the time. People make a comment somewhere and they'll say, oh, I downloaded that from Google, which, okay, fine. But then it's not executed correctly. It's not initialed properly. It's not notarized. And so it has to be a validly executed durable power of attorney. And there are elements, like I think in Florida, like there's a statute, there's things that govern it. And that's why it's important to have a lawyer like yourself who's going to be able to actually draft it, make sure it has all the elements that need to be there for a durable power of attorney, and then also make sure that it's executed properly. Because, again, if it's not executed properly and it's not valid, what happens to the person? What do they have to do? You have to go to guardianship. Yeah. So you kind of get stuck, and people don't understand that whole, the formalities that come with executing those documents. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so much. And it's so personal. Everyone, my opinion, and I know I have a durable power of attorney. My wife has one. We've put it all together. I'm sure you have one. Like, would you recommend it for everyone or some people? Who do you recommend it for? No, I I say everyone,
Yeah.
you know, whether it's your 18-year-old that's going off to college,
Yeah.
or whether it's, you know, your 95-year-old who has capacity, parent, grandparent, whatever. And, you know, myself, I'm in my 40s, and I have friends that are like, I'm too young, I don't want to lose control. And I'm like, well, what happens if you lose capacity? You know, I had a friend that had a surgery recently, super, you know, routine thing, and there was an issue, and there was a little bit of, you know, back and forth as to what was going on. Something temporary.
Yeah.
She was fine after, but during that time, she didn't have capacity. So I say everybody should have a durable power of attorney, just in case.
You know, you brought up a really good point about the 18-year-olds. And like, I see, like, that's one of the things like I forget, even as a lawyer who has so much experience with people who are injured and they're incapacitated. But like, once you're 18, parents are no longer legally able to act on your behalf, right?
Correct.
And
Absolutely.
so, I mean, that's crazy to think that. But
I learned that lesson the hard way. My daughter was 18 and she was a senior in high school. And I take her to the hospital. And of course, I go to the child section, and they're like, no, ma'am, she's no longer a child. So I take her to the adult section, and they're taking her blood, and she's looking at me and she's crying. And the nurse goes, Mom, you need to stand over there. She's an adult now. And I'm like, what? But that happens, right? No longer am I the one that's allowed to make decisions for her.
Yeah.
She's 18. She can make her own decisions, and she's going to be treated like an adult.
yeah, and God forbid something happens and they're 18, 19, 20 years old and they become incapacitated for whatever reason.
Right.
It's a car accident, it's something. If they don't have that power of attorney in place for them, I mean, I think beneath 18 years old, you can act on behalf of your minor child. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. But once they're 18, if you don't have that in place, you're going to be petitioning the court. You're going to be dealing with that. And that, like you said, is a nightmare. You
Right. I've talked to several children. I call them children, but they're really adults.
Yeah.
Right. And we talk about the necessity of a durable power of attorney, your healthcare surrogate, who's going to make healthcare decisions for you, mom, dad, a third person. What about your living will? Because we've had cases that have happened in Florida where there is no living will, and it's kind of freaky, right? Talking to an 18-year-old or 19-year-old about these things, because you don't want to think about that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, us as attorneys, it's our job to make sure that we do talk about those hard subjects.
Yeah, I would say I'm sure like the overwhelming majority of 18 to 30-year-olds don't have a living will. They don't have a durable power of attorney. They don't have a healthcare surrogate. But it really is something that everyone, like you said, should have, right?
Right, absolutely.
And do you prepare all those types of documents for any age with your firm?
We prepare the documents for, 18 plus, and, yeah.
So you have an amazing background. I know that you started before you became a lawyer. You were a legal assistant. Can you just tell me a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I started in 2000 with my now partner. I started off as his legal assistant. But going back a little bit, I had my daughter, and I didn't share this with you. I had my oldest daughter when I was 17. I was in a private Catholic school, and things happened, and I had my daughter at 17. And so I was very young when I had her. So there really was no college. There was, straight starting a family, at that point. And so I started with my partner in 2000. And if you are good at math, which I'm not, I was pretty much 19 or 20 when I started with him.
Okay.
And so I had already 2 children under 2 at that point.
Wow.
And so I started with him, started, knowing what it was like to work in the legal field. And then years went by, and I couldn't see myself telling my daughters, there's an order in life, right? An order. The order being you go to school, then you go to college, then you get married, then you have kids. Because you know what? Mom hadn't done those things, right? So I'm in this legal field working as a legal secretary. I mean, I was making okay money for what it was. And I didn't see myself being able to tell them, you have to do it this way, when I had not done anything like that. So I decided, you know what, it's time for me to go to school. It took me 10 years to get my AA.
Wow, but you did it. You kept pushing.
Crazy. And then it took me about, 2 years. I did the fast track program at FIU for my bachelor's. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I'm there. I've done it. I went to college. I can now tell them you got to go to college.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, you know what? I see my partner and, the attorneys, they're all doing good. They're making good amounts of money, and I'm always going to be stuck here, right? Because there's a ceiling when you're a legal secretary or a paralegal.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to law school. And my husband's like, are you sure? Like, our kids are now like in high school. And I'm like, I'm going to do it because I'm going to show my girls. I only have girls. I'm going to show my girls that, you know, doesn't matter what you face in life, you know, A, B, C happens, but you know, you can do it. There's no excuse. And I went back to school. And then I graduated when I was 35 from law school.
That's an unbelievable story.
Yeah.
That's like perseverance and like, you know, drive.
Yeah. So there I was, you know, now I'm an attorney at the age of 35, and, you know, it's been a learning experience because now I'm on the other side of things.
So it's 2025 now. What year did you graduate from law school?
2015.
It was 2015. So 10 years you've been practicing law. I can do math, a little bit of math.
I tell people,
That's unbelievable. So you got through law school. Did you do night school?
I didn't. I did day.
You had day. So were you working?
Yes.
You were working and you were doing day school.
Although I you know, you're not allowed to work that first year, but I still worked.
Yeah.
You know,
no one will know.
Yeah. It's a secret.
Yeah. The dean of St. Thomas is
watching
right
now.
Not
watching. But yeah, I had to work. You know, there was no way financially that we could afford for me to, you know, just not have a job. And so I worked, took out student loans, and did what had to be done.
What was your experience like in law school? Where did you go, and what was your experience like?
Yeah, I went to St. Thomas. My experience was different, right? Because I was there with 20-something-year-olds, and I was 32 when I started. So, but it was interesting because I had a different viewpoint. I had a different appreciation for what we're doing there, right? Like, I wasn't there to play around. I remember there was one class that nobody had read that day, and the teacher was calling, and all of a sudden I'm in the second row because, of course, you know, I had to do good. And so second row, she gets to me after she's kicked out 12 people, and she's like, I was her research assistant, and she's like, you better have read. And I'm like, of course I read. This is what it is. And so, but, you know, so my experience in law school was different, you know. Yeah. I didn't have time to joke around and go to the galas and have fun and all of that.
But you know what? I think that, that experience, that little bit later in life and not too much later in life, it gives you an edge, I think, over some of the younger people that are there. It no doubt. I took a year off. For me personally, I took a year off. I settled down. I got a steady, a job, a 9-to-5 job, and realized that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of, I wanted to learn the law, but when I started, it was everyone had just gotten out of college, so they're still partying, they're still doing, whatever. They're going out Friday nights. It's a social thing. Where me, I was just put the blinders on and just put all the time in, Right. And I think that's helpful. It definitely gives you an edge.
Right. I mean, you're just more focused, right? Like you said, you were just there. I wanted to have fun, and I'm sure you probably wanted to have fun, but it was kind of this is what I have to do, and you have to push. Yeah,
even that
forward.
1 year of maturity helped.
Absolutely.
And you had more time too, and you had kids and stuff, and so this was you have there's so many people they maybe go to law school, and it's in their minds it's not their only option. You know what I mean? Right? So they don't put their whole time in, and then they just don't make it, because there are a lot of people that don't get through law school that first year.
Yeah.
But someone like you, it's hey, this is it. There's no other option. I'm becoming a lawyer. I'm going to put all my effort in. Yeah. That's really good. And did you continue to do this entire time? So it's always been estate planning, when you were a legal assistant. Tell me because you focus now on estate planning and real estate.
Right.
Give me the thumbnail sketch of how it evolved.
So initially, my partner did a lot of family law, and so I started doing the family law thing, and I very quickly realized that it's not what I want to focus on. I still help clients with family law just because of referrals and, people who follow me, and I talk about it and I try to educate people, but it's not where I choose to put my time into. But I used to, and it was very stressful, and it was the calls in the middle of the night with the issues, and I took it personal, right? I took those issues home, and I realized that that's not where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be in that arena. And so right now I shifted about 4 years ago, and I'm I'm going to just focus on real estate initially. And then I opened a title company, and I focused on that. And then I added estate planning and probate to that about 3 years ago. And I love that because it's not adversarial generally.
Yeah.
Do I still get to have fun sometimes and fight with people? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But generally it's not adversarial. And so I enjoy that more, helping people, you know, in some of their uncertain times. Because, you know, I don't like to say that estate planning is fun because, I mean, most people come into the office and they get very nervous about what they're doing and stuff. But I'd certainly enjoy that more.
Yeah, but you know what's when you say that you started it like 2 or 3 years ago or 3 years ago for the estate planning, like with your background, it started so much longer, like long before, because family law, real estate, like that is literally like tied into what you're planning for. You know, how do you like having that background? How does it help you with your estate planning?
It's interesting you say that because yesterday I talked to a client or a prospective client, and he had vetted other people, and then he was talking to me. He's like, "Well, you know, nobody told me that before," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
well, yeah," because I'm thinking, what's going to happen if you get a divorce? What's going to happen if, you know, you pass away, you become incapacitated, you have to sell property, or you know, all the little things that I've seen happen over the years, and so I think that's what kind of prepared me for it. And gives me a little bit of an edge with other people. Yeah,
no, for sure. Tell me about your social media presence. I see you're on social media. You're doing a great job. You're cutting up videos. Yeah. Tell me how it's helped their business and stuff. And do you recommend other lawyers do it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's something that if you stick with it, it works, right? I have people like, oh yeah, I want to do it. And then you're here 6 months and then you're not. So what I have seen is we started, I think about 3.5 years ago. And over time, the first year, it was crickets.
Yeah.
You know, but we kept going. Every day we post something new to the stories, to the post, you know, every day there's something new. You're going to see something. And so we've transitioned. There's been little things that have worked that we see they don't work, or we go back and we fix it. But in the last year, it's made a dramatic increase in my business. And, you know, every day it's a new challenge. We're learning something new. But I think that social media, whether it be Instagram, which is one audience, TikTok, which is the younger audience, and then Facebook, which is the older audience, you know, so I don't do the different things I don't have time for that.
Sure, of course.
But I do post to all of them. And I've seen an increase.
Yeah. I'll take more risks on TikTok because people don't know, like a lot of people don't, there's so many people that don't know you, you know, then it like see how it works and then go back to Instagram. Instagram is a little bit more, because like I feel like there's a much bigger audience that had already known me because like they kind of filtered through from Facebook and Instagram. But TikTok, you could do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Do you see like organic, like a person who saw your video and says, oh, I'm going to reach out for estate planning advice? Or are you seeing more of like other lawyers kind of top of mind where they reach out to you and they say, oh, I saw your video and I have a case I need to refer? Where are you seeing,
I'm seeing the majority is people, not lawyers.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of content in Spanish, right? I feel like it's a very underserved community. Yeah. And I get that comment, that feedback from the public saying, oh my gosh, finally there's an attorney that is not just, I try to say it in layman terms, because if you say all these things in the legal terms, you know, and I do have these, you know, keyboard warriors that come in and they're like, this is the official name. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But so I generate the content in Spanish to my community, you know, my Hispanic community.
Sure.
And they love it. They love the content and they'll call me. And then the issue that I'm having now, and I don't know if you have this issue, but the issue that I'm having is that people feel like they know me. They connect with me. They want to talk to me. And they'll ask me, because I'll post things. I'll be like, I'm in Spain, you know, whatever. Yeah. And they're like, and how was Spain? And I'm like,
no, some people do really get a connection. You know, they'll be like routinely commenting on your videos and stuff. It's like there's like the usual suspects that kind of feel like they know you, you know. Yeah. But a lot of those people, you know, there's going to be negative people. There's going to be people that are trying to correct you. But then there's a lot of people that are rooting for you and want to help you. But what I find, and I think it's interesting, I guess, for other lawyers, is that, and like you're talking about, is you're getting calls from people, which is great, which is amazing. It's because I think there's certain areas of law that are really good for social media, like estate planning. everyone needs to know about it. Everyone needs to know about a will, right? Everyone needs to know about a trust. Everyone should know about the power of attorney and the healthcare surrogate. Same thing with like immigration law is another group of people,
Right.
more niche, but estate planning, it's everybody.
Right.
You know?
And the difference in the different countries, right? The Latin American countries, a lot of that, they come to this country with their idea of how the law works over there, and they think that that's how it works here. And so when I start bringing these issues up, I find that a lot of them are like, I didn't know that that's how it happened here. I didn't know that this had to be like this. And so it's bringing these things up, and that generates, the prompting of the phone calls.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm just trying to think. There's other areas of law that really are like, and I guess do you talk about like asset protection stuff in your videos? Because I'm just thinking out loud because I love to kind of bounce these things off of other lawyers, but asset protection too is just a massive, very popular subject because a lot of people want to know. I think you do talk more about asset protection than you think.
I do talk about it
It's just in a different term.
in the area of Medicaid planning.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. I don't do asset protection for people who are like, oh yeah, I don't want people to be able to sue me type of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it, so I don't do that, but I do it in the Medicaid planning.
Sure. And then there's always, obviously, there's trust that could be set up, and do you want to hold real estate and
a land trust.
Yeah,
right.
that kind of stuff.
Sure.
That's really, really interesting stuff. And then, criminal law, obviously, everyone loves to hear about
Right.
what to do in a DUI or whatever, but
Although sometimes you hear crazy things that I'm like, I don't think that that's for
Yeah.
real. Let me research that. Like, if you get pulled over, I'm not sure if you should do that.
yeah, I know. No, you got to be really careful. I'll do a video and people will correct me and be like, "Nah, in this state,
Right.
It's like I did a video one time about like in Florida, like you don't want to take the breathalyzer test and you don't want to do the field sobriety exercise. It's kind of like what prosecutors, everyone kind of knows that's the thing. But in like
But did it change
but
now
if it's
in
but
October?
if it's in Texas, well, I don't know if it changed. But if it's in Texas, they're like, oh, they'll get a blood warrant. Just refuse the DUI, like refuse the breath test, and
you're
they'll
done.
just go to get a warrant and you make you wait and then take your blood. And I didn't know they could do. I didn't know. I know they couldn't do that here in Florida, but in Texas, that's like a thing. But so you learn so much on social media.
Yeah. Although I get all these emails from people or DMs, and they're like, "There's this trust, and it's like some financial advisor somewhere," and I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, be wary what you learn, but or hear. Tell me a little bit more about your business. So you're a partner now in the firm. How many lawyers are there? Tell me just a little bit about the firm.
So it's two partners. It's myself, Brett Feinstein, which is the Feinstein, and then myself, Martha Mendez, who's the Mendez. And then we have two associates. We had three, but one just left. She had a baby. And then we have one paralegal, two legal assistants. We have somebody that's overseas that does a lot of my intake and follow-ups and stuff like that. And then we have a receptionist.
That's great.
So it's not a huge staff, but we're growing.
Yeah. But that's a perfect team right there. That's like the perfect size,
Yeah. I hear all of these people and, that have scaled quickly, and I think it's awesome. I guess since I'm a little older, I'm more cautious. I'm more like, okay, do we really need that? Are we at that point? Are we, just more financially cautious?
Yeah, and I think like once you get a certain level of like cases, and then you start seeing people that are like in the team that are like stressed, like there's too much for them to do and things are falling behind. It's like you want to get ahead of that, It's
Right.
like, okay, now we got to bring on somebody else for sure. Do you work with any like coaches or anything like that? Because I know there's a lot of lawyers that do how to grow a small law firm. They do Atticus. They do, a whole bunch of different things.
So when I started, and I say I started because 3 years ago is when I really was like, okay, I want to grow. I want to make this, instead of it just being a 2 or 3 attorney firm, I want to grow. And so I did. I started working with a Wealthy Woman Lawyer. And so I did about 6 months with her. It was great because it kind of helped me with the money, I didn't have money growing up, and I didn't have money when I started as an attorney. And, so it was, you're kind of super cautious, right? And so there's something to be learned there, not to be so concerned. In order to grow, you have to spend money.
Sure.
And so it helped me with that. And now I'm just part of different mastermind groups. I did the BNI for, I think 2 years. And then have stopped doing that, just learning what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
So right now I'm not part of any of those.
And it's also a huge time commitment,
That's
like BNI groups. The thing is this, I don't love the big social gatherings, so like for me, it's almost like my social gathering is on social media.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how people see me all the time. That's how I communicate.
Your reach is so much more, right?
Yeah,
You go to an event and you're seeing maybe you talk to 5 people.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're kind of counting on that, but now you're on social media and you're reaching, I mean, I don't know, I think you have 80,000 people that follow you somewhere.
Yeah.
So,
but you think about those 5 people is like, and this is like something like, I think that there should be coaches, and I'm sure there are coaches for, but like if you go to an event and you talk to 5 people, the chances of you remembering and following up with those 5 people are so slim, and the name is going to escape you. Maybe you'll bump into them again. But I think like whenever I go to any of those things, like it's really like I try to focus on like maybe one person, and try to build a relationship there, because it's just too many people,
right. Right. And a lot of times they're trying to hurry up and talk to the next person. Yeah. And then it's like, what do you do? What do you do? And then you're like,
and how do you have a relationship? How do you have a relationship? It's just not, to me, it's not great. But I've never done the BNI groups, but I've heard, I think they can be good. They can be really good.
Some people swear by them. They say it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed one of the chapters that I was in. I was in 2 different ones. The first chapter I was in, I just was in a very niche area and I didn't get many referrals.
Sure.
And then when you put it down pen to paper and you're like, okay, I charge X amount an hour. I'm using 4 hours a week on this, and I'm not, the numbers don't lie. And so it's like, oh, I don't, I mean, the relationships are great, but I'm, I'd rather be at home or at the gym or, doing something else than doing that.
Yeah. The time is important. You got to find,
buy back your time.
Buy back your time, which is a great book. Is that a book that you read, or?
I haven't read it. I listened to a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
And so I think it was in one of the earlier podcasts that I heard, I think last year.
I think it's Dan Martell. I'm not sure if it's David Martell, something Martell, but he wrote Buy Back Your Time. He has a pretty good YouTube channel. These guys are like these crazy wealthy, and at the end of the day, you truthfully sometimes never know whether they are or they aren't, because some people their social media ends up blowing up, and they're a guru and then they fail. But Martell, actually, he's like, that book is really, really good, like amazing. I've definitely followed some of his advice, and I was actually like, if I'm at the gym, I'll put that on YouTube and watch his 10 steps of what successful people do, and you get these little nuggets of like great information. You know,
I mean, I try to listen to those books more for those little nuggets, because at least me, I'm never gonna follow A, B, C. No, but I listen, I'm like, well, that makes sense. I need to buy back my time. I need to, See, I can afford to pay somebody to do that.
I think the reason that book is so good is because the title is the entire book,
right?
And like, you don't have to read the book. It's like, okay, that's a perfect idea. I get it. Buy back your time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's so funny, because if I pick up that book, like, I hate reading. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not going to, there's just so much extra stuff in there to get to like the key important stuff, Yeah. I need I'll just chat GPT.
Right.
what are the 5
Give
steps?
Me the bullet points.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. So tell us just a little bit about where the direction of your firm is going, and who your ideal client is. And
so our firm now is growing. I'm trying to grow it. I started, 3 years ago, like I mentioned, I started the social media venture, and then last year, or now in 2025, I started doing like Google marketing, that kind of arena. Started doing some postcards, just trying different things to see what works, right? And so we've grown with that. I'm gonna give it, like I gave the social media, give it a few years and see. Obviously, always tweaking, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, seeing what works in our own firm, because what works in others doesn't work in ours.
Yeah.
And so it's grow, but I don't want to grow too much. I don't want to work so much. I also want to be able to enjoy life.
Yeah,
I mean, I listened to one of your podcasts, and you were talking about, I think you had mentioned something about your son and, not being able to spend time. And I have grown daughters, because, the daughter I mentioned earlier, she's now 28. And so I have a 28 and a 26-year-old, and I have a grandbaby, and I have,
Oh,
so
wow.
it's like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
want to be able to enjoy time with them. So it's going to be a balance in the next few years.
Yeah, that's great though. It's just about building out a great team and then you kind of managing that team, and then having the
Right.
knowledge that you have and mentoring them. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, the challenge that I'm facing now, and I'm trying to figure out to see how I can fix it, is the social media. The people that come to me from social media is having that connection with me, and they only want to talk to me.
Yeah.
And so I tried like 3 months ago to implement different strategies, but at the end of the day, they want to talk to me. They want to talk to me. They want to see me. And so figuring out that. I'll figure it out, see how to make that work.
Yeah, that's going to be something you're going to have to work on for sure. For sure. You need like the AI avatar of you,
right?
somehow that can meet with people. That'll be the future. But how do people get in touch with you if they want to, set up a meeting, or they want to reach out to the firm, or how do they get in touch with you guys?
I mean, generally I would love it if they reach out to me on social media, because that's where they're going to get a lot of information, but they can always call my office and schedule an appointment.
What's your Instagram handle?
It's Martha Mendez _ESQ.
Okay. And then the firm for them to call
is 786-636-8938.
I know.
Think about that.
That's a test. The owner of the business, like, you asked me my fax number. I have no idea. You know what I mean? Don't ask me the fax number. I know my email address, but
that's a quiz.
Yeah, that is a quiz. All right. Well, listen, this has been a pleasure having you, on the podcast and chatting about your business and stuff. It sounds like you're doing amazing. And now we just have to figure out how to find that avatar to
recreate me.
Find that great person. But
yeah.
thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.